Commander Kim Tae-ho stood in the control room of Earth Defense Station, watching screens that showed death everywhere. The alien ships floated above major cities like black metal storms, their weapons pointed down at buildings full of scared people. 3 months ago, these creatures came from deep space saying they wanted to make friends. Now they were killing humans for fun. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Dominion. They ruled hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Their leader was Emperor Frex, who looked like a giant lizard with too many teeth. He wore golden armor and spoke in a voice that sounded like breaking glass. When he talked to humans, he always smiled, showing his sharp fangs. Today was different from other days. Today, the aliens were going to show the whole world what happened when species tried to fight back against them. They had taken 100,000 Americans from cities like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. These people were teachers, doctors, children, mothers, fathers, grandparents, just normal people living normal lives. Tae-ho watched the main screen as it switched to show the alien capital world. The camera showed a massive arena bigger than any stadium on Earth. Millions of alien creatures filled the seats. They had different shapes and colors, but they all looked excited to watch what was about to happen. Some had tentacles, some had wings, some walked on 4 legs. They were all here to watch humans. The arena floor was covered with wooden platforms. Each platform had a rope hanging from it. Tae-ho felt sick when he realized what he was seeing. These were gallows. Hanging platforms. The aliens were going to hang 100,000 innocent people and broadcast it live to Earth as Entertainment Emperor. Frex appeared on a golden throne high above the arena. His voice boomed through speakers that reached every human device on Earth. Every television, every phone, every computer was showing this nightmare, and no one could turn it off. The aliens had taken control of all human technology. People of Earth, the Emperor said in perfect English. Your species has been chosen to serve the Dominion as entertainment slaves. Some of you will work in our mines, some will fight in our gladiator games. Some will be pets for our children. Those who refuse will die today. You will see what happens to those who think they can resist us. The camera showed the human prisoners being brought onto the arena floor. They were wearing orange uniforms like criminals, but these were not criminals. These were innocent people who had been kidnapped from their homes. Their hands were tied behind their backs. Guards with energy weapons pushed them toward the hanging platforms. Tae-ho saw families being separated. Children, crying for their mothers, fathers trying to protect their sons and daughters. Old people who could barely walk being dragged toward the ropes. The alien crowds cheered louder with each human scream. They thought human suffering was the best show they had ever seen. The commander recognized some faces from the missing person reports. His own sister Minji was supposed to be among these prisoners. She had been taken 3 weeks ago while walking home from work. He searched the crowd of orange uniforms, looking for her familiar smile, hoping she had somehow escaped. One by one, the humans were forced onto the platforms. Alien executioners put the ropes around their necks. The crowd of alien watchers began chanting in their strange languages. They were counting down like this was a sports game or a celebration. They could not wait to see humans die. Emperor Vrex stood up from his throne and raised one clawed hand. The arena became quiet, except for the sound of humans crying and praying. The Emperor spoke again, his voice carrying across space to every human ear listening on Earth. Your military leaders think they can fight us? The Emperor said with his terrible smile. Your weapons are toys compared to ours. Your soldiers are children, playing war games. We have conquered 1,000 worlds and destroyed 100 species that thought they were strong. You are insects to us. Nothing more. The executioners waited for the final signal. Tae-ho felt tears running down his face as he watched. Families holding hands even with ropes around their necks. Some humans were singing together. Others were praying. Some were telling their children they loved them. The aliens found this even more entertaining. At the defense station, other officers were talking about surrender. Admiral Chen wanted to contact the aliens immediately to discuss terms. General Williams said humanity should give up before more people died. They argued that fighting would only make things worse for everyone, but Tae-ho was not thinking about surrender. He was thinking about revenge. Every face in that arena was burned into his memory. Every child, every parent, every grandparent who was about to die because aliens thought it was fun. He would remember them all. He would make the aliens pay for every single death. The Emperor dropped his hand. The executioners pulled their levers. The platforms fell. The ropes went tight. 100,000 human lives ended in seconds while millions of aliens cheered and celebrated. The arena erupted in alien celebration music and dancing. They had just watched the biggest mass murder in human history and they loved it. The broadcast did not end there. Emperor Vrex wanted to make sure his message was clear to everyone on Earth. The camera showed alien soldiers dragging more human prisoners into the arena. These were the ones who would be kept alive as slaves. Workers for the mines, fighters for the gladiator pits, servants for alien families. You have 7 days to surrender. Completely, the Emperor announced. If you do not give up your planet and all your people, we will return and kill every human alive. We will burn your cities, flood your lands, and make sure nothing human ever exists again. Your choice is slavery or extinction. There is no third option. The transmission finally ended, leaving Earth in silence. Taiho stood in the control room surrounded by officers who were already talking about surrender documents and negotiation terms. They wanted to save as many lives as possible by giving the aliens everything they wanted. But something had changed inside Taiho during those terrible minutes. The man who had sworn to protect Earth was now thinking about something different. He was not thinking about defense anymore. He was thinking about attack. The aliens had made one big mistake in their perfect plan. They had shown humans exactly what kind of creatures they were dealing with. The aliens thought they were teaching humans to be afraid. Instead, they had taught humans to hate. The Dominion had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years by breaking the spirit of other species. They used fear and cruelty to make everyone give up fighting, but they did not understand humans very well. As other officers discussed surrender terms, Taiho quietly activated his personal communicator. He began sending encrypted messages to Special Forces teams around the world, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Marine Force, Recon, Delta Force. They were all getting the same message from their commander. The message was simple: do not surrender, do not give up. Meet at the backup coordinates. We have work to do. The aliens want to play games with human lives. Now humans are going to play games with alien lives. The rules are going to be very different from what they expect. Taiho looked at the blank screens where moments before he had watched innocent people die. The aliens thought they had won the war before it started. They thought humans were too weak and scared to fight back against superior technology and numbers. They were about to learn that they had made the biggest mistake in their long history of conquest. The war between humans and aliens was about to begin, but it would not be the war anyone expected. 3 days after the terrible broadcast, Commander Kim Taiho met with Special Forces soldiers from around the world in an abandoned subway tunnel under New York City. The tunnel was deep underground where alien scanners could not find them. Emergency. Lights cast strange shadows on the walls, making everything look like a horror movie. The men and women gathered in the tunnel were the best fighters humanity had to offer: Park Ji-hoon and Lee. Sunwoo came with Taiho from the Navy SEALs Russian Spetsnaz. Soldiers had traveled secretly from Moscow. British SAS commandos brought special weapons from London. German KSK troops carried explosives and communication equipment. Every nation had sent their deadliest warriors, while government leaders above ground prepared surrender documents. These soldiers were planning something completely different. They were going to fight back against creatures that had conquered hundreds of worlds. The politicians thought this was suicide. The soldiers thought surrender was worse than death. Dr. Song Hyejin arrived at the meeting carrying a briefcase full of stolen alien technology. She was a quantum physicist who had escaped from an alien prison ship 2 days ago. Her clothes were torn and dirty, but her eyes burned with determination. She had seen things that changed everything humans thought they knew about their enemies. Dr. Song opened her briefcase and showed the gathered soldiers pieces of alien equipment that glowed with strange energy. The devices hummed and sparked with power that seemed impossible. She had risked her life to steal these items because they contained the secret to defeating the Dominion. While I was captured, Dr. Song explained, the aliens made me fix their broken machines. I learned how all their technology works. Their weapons, shields, and engines all use something called quantum field generators. These fields make them incredibly powerful, but they also create a weakness that no other species ever discovered. She pulled out a small device that looked like a human radio, but was covered with alien symbols. The quantum fields can be disrupted by specific electromagnetic frequencies. She continued, human electronic warfare technology can create the exact frequencies needed to shut down their systems. When their fields collapse, their weapons stop working and their shields disappear. The soldiers leaned forward to hear every word. This was the first good news they had received since the invasion began. The aliens seemed impossible to fight because of their advanced technology, but Dr. Song was saying that human technology could actually beat them in some ways. Lee Sun-woo asked how they could build weapons that use these frequencies. Dr. Song smiled for the first time since her escape. She explained that humans already had most of the technology they needed: military radar systems, electronic warfare equipment, and even some civilian devices could be modified to generate the right frequencies. The resistance began organizing immediately. Taiho took command of the international force because he had the most experience with covert operations. They divided into cells of 12 fighters. Each cell would operate independently, so that if one group was captured, the others could continue fighting. Former enemies became allies overnight. Chinese special forces shared intelligence with American soldiers. Russian commandos worked alongside NATO troops. North Korean operative Han Ji-won brought chemical weapons, expertise that everyone needed. The alien threat had united humanity in ways that peace never could. They established secret bases in subway tunnels, abandoned military bunkers, deep caves, and underwater facilities. The aliens controlled the surface, but they did not understand human underground construction. Every major city had hidden spaces that could hide thousands of people. The resistance used these forgotten places to build their rebellion. Yoon Seojin arrived from South Korea with a team of combat engineers who specialized in tunnel warfare. They began connecting the underground bases with secret passages that could move fighters and supplies without being detected. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had superior knowledge. Of their own planet, more civilians joined the resistance every day. People who had lost family members in the arena broadcast wanted revenge. Parents whose children were taken as slaves demanded action. Veterans who had fought in human wars brought their experience to the fight against aliens. Everyone contributed something useful to the growing rebellion. Dr. Song worked with military engineers to build the first generation of anti-alien weapons. They took human electromagnetic pulse devices and modified them to generate the specific frequencies that disrupted alien quantum fields. The first prototypes were crude and unreliable, but they worked well enough to disable alien personal shields. Intelligence reports brought disturbing news about alien psychology. The creatures did not understand human emotions like love, loyalty, or sacrifice. They saw these feelings as weaknesses that made humans easy to control. This fundamental misunderstanding would become their greatest disadvantage. In the coming war, the aliens continued their psychological warfare campaign. Every day they broadcast more executions and torture sessions from their arena. They showed human slaves working in alien mines and fighting in gladiator games. They wanted to break human morale by demonstrating the hopelessness of resistance. But the broadcasts had the opposite effect. Each new atrocity created more resistance fighters. Mothers whose sons were killed became bomb makers. Fathers whose daughters were enslaved became saboteurs. Teachers whose students disappeared became intelligence gatherers. The aliens were accidentally recruiting their own enemies. Taiho received reports that similar resistance movements were forming on every continent. Australian SAS troops were attacking alien supply lines in the outback. Canadian JTF-2 commandos were ambushing alien patrols in the Arctic. Japanese special forces were disrupting alien communications networks in Tokyo. The most surprising intelligence came from space monitoring stations that were still secretly operated by humans. The aliens had only deployed 50,000 ground troops to control the entire planet. Emperor Vrex considered Earth such a minor threat that most of his fleet remained in deep space preparing to conquer other worlds. This overconfidence would be their downfall. The Dominion was used to fighting large-scale battles between organized armies. They had never faced a guerrilla war where every civilian was a potential enemy. Their military doctrine did not include tactics for fighting an entire population that refused to surrender. Captain Ojewan led the first successful raid against an alien communication post in downtown Los Angeles. Using Dr. Song's electromagnetic weapons, the resistance fighters disabled the alien shields and stormed the facility. They rescued 30 human prisoners and captured valuable intelligence about enemy operations. The raid revealed more weaknesses in alien military thinking. The creatures were individually powerful and heavily armed, but they depended completely on their technology. When their shields failed and their plasma weapons stopped working, they became vulnerable to conventional human firearms. Most importantly, the aliens had no experience with enemies who used deception and misdirection. The Dominion conquered other species through superior firepower and intimidation. They expected their enemies to fight honorably in open battle. They were not prepared for humans who would lie, cheat, steal, and use any tactic necessary to win. Word spread through the resistance network that the aliens could be beaten. The impossible had become possible. Humanity had found a way to fight back against creatures from across the galaxy. The real war was about to begin, and this time the aliens would not be fighting helpless victims. They would be fighting the human race. 21 days after the mass execution broadcast, Commander Kim Tae-ho crouched in the ruins of downtown Los Angeles, watching the alien command center through his binoculars. The building had once been a luxury hotel, but now it served as the regional headquarters for the Galactic Dominion Occupation Force. Alien guards walked patrol routes around the building, carrying plasma rifles that could burn through steel. Their energy shields shimmered like heat waves in the morning sun. These creatures had conquered hundreds of worlds using this same technology. They believed nothing could hurt them. Tae-ho counted 12 guards outside and estimated at least 50 more inside. The building was 5 stories tall with no windows on the lower floors. The aliens had modified it to be a fortress, but they had designed it to keep out conventional attacks. They were not expecting what the humans had planned. Behind him, 30 resistance fighters waited for his signal. Park Ji-hoon carried the new electromagnetic pulse rifle that Dr. Song had designed. Lee Sun-woo had a backpack full of frequency disruptor grenades. Former Marine Captain Martinez held a conventional assault rifle loaded with armor-piercing rounds. The team included soldiers from 6 different countries, but they had trained together for 2 weeks in the underground tunnels. They knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. They had memorized the building layout from stolen alien blueprints. They were ready to show the galaxy what humans could do when they stopped playing by alien rules. Dr. Song spoke through their radio headsets from the command bunker 3 miles away. Her voice was calm and professional despite the danger. Remember, the electromagnetic pulse only works for 90 seconds. After that, their backup systems will restore power. You must move fast and hit hard. There will be no second chance. Tae-ho gave the signal. Park Ji-hoon aimed his special rifle at the main power generator on the building roof. The weapon charged, with a high-pitched whine that made the air itself seem to vibrate. When he pulled the trigger, an invisible wave of electromagnetic energy hit the alien building like a silent explosion. Every alien device in the command center suddenly stopped. Working lights went out. Energy shields collapsed. Plasma weapons became useless metal bars. The aliens inside were now as helpless as the humans. They had been torturing for weeks. The hunters had become the hunted. The resistance fighters moved like shadows across the open ground. Their months of training in guerrilla warfare made them nearly invisible, even in broad daylight. The aliens had sophisticated sensors and detection equipment, but all of it was dead. The creatures were fighting blind. For the first time in their conquest, Yoon Seojun placed explosive charges on the main entrance while Han Ji-won cut through a side window with a plasma torch stolen from an alien construction site. The human fighters entered the building from 3 different directions, dividing the alien defenders and creating maximum confusion. Inside the command center, chaos reigned. Alien officers shouted commands in their strange languages, trying to understand why their technology had failed. Some tried to call for help, but their communication systems were completely dead. Others grabbed backup weapons only to discover that even these had been disabled by the electromagnetic pulse. The first floor was full of alien soldiers who had never fought. Without their energy shields, they moved slowly and clumsily in their heavy armor, which had been designed to support powered systems. Now the armor was just dead weight that made them easy targets for human weapons. Lieutenant Nam Yuna led her squad up the emergency stairwell, encountering confused aliens who could not see in the dark without their night vision equipment. The creatures had excellent natural eyesight, but they had become dependent on technology to enhance their abilities. On the third floor, the humans discovered something that made their blood boil. A holding area full of human prisoners, including children who had been taken from schools and playgrounds. The aliens had been using these innocent people for medical experiments and psychological torture studies. Among the prisoners was Kang Mirai, a young engineer who had been forced to maintain alien equipment for 3 weeks. She was weak from poor treatment, but her mind was still sharp. She immediately began helping the resistance fighters understand the alien control systems. The assault reached the 5th floor, where the alien commander, General Thrak, was trying to manually restart the building defense systems. He was a massive creature with purple scales and 4 arms, each holding a different weapon. But without his energy shields, he was just as vulnerable as any other living thing. Tejo confronted the alien general in the command center, surrounded by screens that showed human cities burning and alien ships dropping more troops. The general snarled something in his native language, then switched to broken English. "You cannot win, primitive creatures," he hissed. "Our empire spans the galaxy. Your pathetic species will be extinct within 1 solar rotation. We are superior in every way that matters." Tejo looked at the screens showing human suffering, then looked back at the alien who was responsible for so much death and pain. The commander had trained his whole life to fight enemies who threatened his people. This creature had made itself his enemy the moment it decided to hurt innocent humans. The electromagnetic pulse began to wear off and alien equipment started coming back online. Emergency power restored some of the building lights back up. Communication systems began broadcasting distress calls to other alien facilities. The 90 seconds were almost over, but 90 seconds had been enough. The resistance fighters had accomplished their primary mission. They had rescued 200 human prisoners, proved that alien technology could be defeated, and captured vital intelligence about enemy operations. Most importantly, they had sent a message to both humans and aliens. Humans could fight back. The impossible had been done as the team evacuated with the rescued prisoners. General Thrak lay dead on the command center floor. The creature who had supervised the torture of human children would never hurt anyone again. His alien soldiers were either dead or fleeing in panic. They had never experienced defeat before and did not know how to handle it. The news of the successful attack spread through both human and alien communication networks. Within hours, resistance cells around the world were launching similar raids using electromagnetic weapons to disable alien defenses. Human confidence soared, while alien morale began to crack. Emperor Vrex received the news while traveling between star systems aboard his massive flagship. The being who had ruled the galaxy for centuries was learning that humans were not like other species they had conquered. These creatures fought differently, thought differently, and refused to accept defeat, even when facing impossible odds. The Emperor ordered immediate retaliation against human population centers. His commanders destroyed the city of Detroit in a demonstration of alien firepower, meant to terrorize humans into submission. The attack killed 500,000 innocent people in minutes. But the destruction of Detroit had the opposite effect from what the aliens intended. Instead of breaking human resistance, it strengthened it. Millions of people who had been hoping for peaceful coexistence now understood that the aliens planned to exterminate humanity regardless of whether they fought back or surrendered. International cooperation reached levels never seen before in human history. Former enemies shared their most advanced military technology. China gave stealth aircraft designs to America. Russia provided nuclear weapons to Europe. Every nation contributed whatever they could to the fight for human survival. Song worked around the clock to mass-produce electromagnetic weapons using factories hidden in subway tunnels and abandoned buildings. The aliens controlled the surface, but they could not stop human industry from operating underground. Human creativity and determination were proving more powerful than alien technology. The first strike had been a complete success, But it was only the beginning. Taiho knew that the real war was just starting. The aliens would adapt to human tactics and bring reinforcements from across the galaxy. But humans would adapt too. And they had something the aliens did not understand. They had nothing left to lose. 6 weeks after the Los Angeles raid, the war had spread across the entire planet. Lieutenant Nam Yuna piloted her modified F-35 fighter jet through the clouds above the Pacific Ocean, chasing 3 alien interceptor craft. The enemy ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything humans had built, but they had one critical weakness. The aliens depended on their technology more than their skill as pilots. When Yuna activated her electromagnetic pulse missiles, the alien fighters suddenly became flying coffins. Their pilots had never learned to fly without computer assistance. They crashed into the ocean while Yuna returned safely to the underground airbase. This victory was being repeated around the world. Human pilots were shooting down alien aircraft using modified missiles that disabled enemy electronics. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had superior training and adaptability. The creatures who had conquered the galaxy were learning that conquering Earth would be different. Der Song worked in a secret laboratory built inside an abandoned subway tunnel, creating new weapons faster than the aliens could develop countermeasures. Her latest invention was the portable shield disruptor, a device small enough to fit in a soldier's backpack, but powerful enough to disable an alien tank. The electromagnetic warfare had evolved beyond simple pulse weapons. Human engineers were now building devices that could selectively target different types of alien equipment. They could disable shields while leaving weapons functional, or shut down engines while keeping life support systems running. This gave human fighters incredible tactical flexibility. Commander Kim Tae-ho led a joint task force of 2,000 fighters from 12 different countries. The underground resistance had become a sophisticated military organization with its own intelligence network, supply lines, and command structure. They were no longer desperate survivors hiding in tunnels. They were an army. The aliens were making critical mistakes because they did not understand human psychology. Every time they destroyed a human city to punish resistance activities, they created more resistance fighters. The bombing of Detroit had recruited 500,000 new volunteers to the underground cause. Emperor Vrex grew frustrated with the slow progress of the Earth conquest. His generals reported that human resistance was actually increasing instead of decreasing. The Emperor could not understand how a primitive species could become more dangerous over time, instead of weaker. The alien military doctrine was based on overwhelming force and intimidation tactics that had worked against every other species in the galaxy. But humans responded to intimidation by becoming more creative and determined. Every alien victory seemed to make human resistance stronger. Park Ji-hoon discovered this during a raid on an alien supply depot in Chicago. The team expected to find demoralized alien soldiers, but instead encountered creatures who were nervous and jumpy. The mighty Dominion warriors were becoming afraid of the humans they had once considered harmless insects. Intelligence reports revealed that alien reinforcements were being recalled from other conquest campaigns to deal with the Earth problem. This weakened Dominion control over recently conquered systems and encouraged rebellions on other occupied planets. News of human success was spreading throughout the galaxy. The most significant development came when Captain Oh Jae-won successfully captured an alien communication array during a raid on the facility in Miami. His team used the equipment to broadcast human propaganda throughout the Dominion Empire. The message was simple: humans were fighting back and winning. Other species that had been enslaved by the Dominion for centuries suddenly realized that their conquerors were not invincible. The broadcast showed human fighters destroying alien equipment, rescuing prisoners, and defeating creatures that had once seemed like gods. This inspired uprisings on 17 different worlds. Lee Sunwoo led a team that infiltrated an alien prison ship orbiting Earth. They rescued 800 human captives and captured detailed intelligence about Dominion military capabilities. The information revealed that the aliens had serious supply problems and were running low on replacement equipment. Dr. Song used this intelligence to develop targeted attacks against alien logistics networks. Human saboteurs began destroying alien supply depots, communication relays, and repair facilities. The creatures who had conquered hundreds of worlds were learning what it felt like to fight a war they could not win quickly. Resistance evolved from hit-and-run tactics to coordinated military campaigns. Taiho planned synchronized attacks against alien positions in 50 cities simultaneously. The operations required precise timing and flawless communication, but they succeeded beyond all expectations in a single day. Human fighters destroyed 30 alien command centers, rescued 2,000 prisoners, and captured enough alien technology to equip 10 new resistance cells. The aliens began to realize they were not fighting a desperate rebellion. They were fighting a war against an entire species. Major Park Soo-hyun coordinated intelligence operations that intercepted alien communications and predicted enemy movements days in advance. Humans were learning to think like their enemies while the aliens still did not understand human thinking at all. The psychological advantage was shifting. Human fighters reported that alien soldiers seemed confused and demoralized. They had been told that humans were primitive creatures who would surrender after a demonstration of superior force. Instead, they encountered enemies who became more dangerous with each passing day. Yoon Seojin completed construction of the first human anti-gravity fighters using technology captured from alien ships. The new aircraft combined human aerodynamic knowledge with alien propulsion systems, creating fighters that were superior to anything the Dominion had built. These hybrid fighters proved that human engineering could improve alien technology in ways the original designers never imagined. The aliens had advanced science, but humans had better understanding of physics and creative problem-solving abilities. Emperor Vrex made his biggest mistake when he decided to personally travel to Earth to oversee what he called the final extermination of human resistance. His flagship contained the most advanced technology in the Dominion fleet, but it also contained the target that every human fighter had been dreaming of destroying. Intelligence reports revealed that the Emperor planned to use orbital bombardment weapons to sterilize the entire planet. He would rather destroy Earth completely than allow human resistance to inspire rebellions throughout his empire. This decision proved that the aliens still did not understand their enemy at all. Humans were not fighting for territory or resources or political power. They were fighting for the right to exist as a free species. They would rather die fighting than live as slaves, and they were prepared to make any sacrifice necessary to protect their children from alien cruelty. The Emperor brought only a small escort fleet because he believed that no human force could threaten his personal flagship. This arrogance would provide the resistance with their greatest opportunity since the war began. The creature who had ordered the execution of 100,000 innocent people was finally coming within reach of human justice. Taiho received confirmation that alien morale was collapsing across multiple fronts. Dominion soldiers were deserting their posts rather than face human fighters. The empire that had lasted for millennia was crumbling under pressure from creatures they had considered worthless. The tide of war had turned completely. The species that was supposed to be entertainment for alien crowds had become the galaxy's most feared military force. The hunters had become the hunted, and the weak had become strong. Emperor Vrex was about to learn what humans meant when they demanded justice. 8 months after the initial alien invasion, Earth had become a fortress planet defended by over 2 million human fighters. The underground resistance had evolved into the Earth Defense Force, a military organization that combined the best tactics from every human nation with captured alien technology. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in the main command center built deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching screens that showed the space around Earth. The facility had been constructed in record time by engineers from around the world working together without the politics that had once divided humanity. The command center tracked 17 alien ships in Earth orbit, but these were not the confident conquerors who had arrived months ago. These were nervous occupation forces that rarely left their heavily shielded vessels. The mighty Dominion military was now afraid to set foot on the planet they had come to enslave. Dr. Song had completed her masterpiece, the mass production of electromagnetic warfare systems that could disable entire alien fleets from the ground. Human factories hidden in caves and underground tunnels were producing these weapons faster than the aliens could develop countermeasures. Lieutenant Colonel Park Ji-hoon reported that alien desertion rates had reached 30%. Many Dominion soldiers were abandoning their posts rather than face human fighters who seemed to appear from nowhere and disappear like ghosts. The psychological warfare was working better than anyone had hoped. Intelligence Officer Lee Sunwoo brought disturbing news from intercepted alien communications. Emperor Vrex was traveling to Earth with his personal fleet, intending to personally oversee the complete destruction of human civilization. The Emperor had decided that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to exist. The Emperor flagship was called the World Killer, a massive vessel designed to destroy entire planets from orbit. It carried weapons that could crack continents and boil oceans. The ship had never been defeated in 1,000 years of conquest, and the Emperor believed it was invincible. But Dr. Song had been studying the technical specifications captured from alien prisoners. The World Killer depended on the same quantum field generators that powered all Dominion technology. It was vulnerable to the same electromagnetic disruption that had been defeating alien forces on Earth for months. Major Nam Yuna commanded the newly created human space force, consisting of captured alien fighters and hybrid vessels built with both human and alien technology. These ships were faster and more maneuverable than pure alien designs because they incorporated human aerodynamic knowledge. The space pilots were volunteers who had trained in secret using alien flight simulators captured during resistance raids. They had learned to fly spacecraft in underground hangars built in abandoned mines. Their training was dangerous and several pilots had died in crashes, but the survivors were incredibly skilled. Captain O.J. Wan led the intelligence division that had successfully infiltrated alien communication networks. Human codebreakers had learned to understand alien languages and military procedures better than some aliens understood them themselves. The intercepted communications revealed something shocking. Emperor Vrex's nephew, Prince Kelvak, was traveling to Earth ahead of the main fleet. His ship contained detailed battle plans for the planetary destruction. Operation Capturing the Prince would give humans advance warning of the Emperor's strategy. Yoon Seo-jun prepared the assault team that would attempt to capture Prince Kelvak during his visit to the Berlin occupation zone. The mission was extremely dangerous because the prince traveled with elite alien guards and advanced security systems, but the intelligence value made the risk worthwhile. The assault on the prince's ship required perfect timing and coordination. Human fighters would use electromagnetic weapons to disable the vessel security systems, while boarding teams captured the alien commander alive. The operation would prove whether humans could defeat the Dominions. Best troops Han Ji-won had spent weeks studying alien psychology and interrogation, techniques captured from their intelligence files. She would be responsible for questioning Prince Kelvak and extracting the information needed to defeat his uncle, the Emperor. The boarding operation succeeded beyond all expectations. The electromagnetic assault disabled the prince's shields and weapons, allowing human fighters to storm the ship. The alien guards were elite soldiers, but they had never faced enemies who fought without rules or honor. Prince Kelvak was captured alive along with his entire command staff. The aliens were shocked to discover that humans had learned their languages and could understand their military protocols perfectly. The interrogation revealed detailed information about the Emperor's battle plans. The prince confirmed that Emperor Vrex intended to sterilize Earth completely, rather than continue fighting a war that was damaging Dominion prestige throughout the galaxy. The Emperor would rather destroy the planet than admit that humans could defeat alien military forces. But the interrogation also revealed critical intelligence about the Emperor himself. Vrex was traveling with only a minimal escort because he believed that no human force could threaten his flagship. The creature who had ruled the galaxy for centuries was making the same mistake that had cost the Dominion the war. Dr. Song used the captured battle plans to design a coordinated assault that would target every weakness in the World Killer defense's human ground-based weapons, would combine with the Space Force fighters to create an electromagnetic field powerful enough to disable even the Emperor flagship. The plan required splitting the Earth Defense Force between ground operations and space combat, but intelligence reports suggested that this might be humanity's only chance to end the war. The Emperor was bringing advanced weapons that could destroy the planet before humans could mount another resistance campaign. Taiho addressed the combined command staff In the underground bunker explaining the mission that would determine the fate of both Earth and the galaxy, Emperor Vrex had ordered the deaths of millions of innocent people and enslaved countless others across hundreds of worlds. The Emperor believed that humans were insects who could be crushed by superior technology, but 8 months of war had proven otherwise. Humans had adapted to every alien tactic, learned to use their enemies' technology against them, and never accepted defeat. Even when facing impossible odds, Major Park Soo-hyun coordinated the intelligence network that now monitored alien activities across the solar system. Human listening posts tracked every Dominion ship communication and supply movement. The aliens could no longer make any move without human knowledge. The psychological war had turned completely in human favor. Alien soldiers reported nightmares about human fighters who seemed to appear from shadows and vanish like smoke. Dominion morale was collapsing as news of human victories spread throughout their empire. Other enslaved species were openly rebelling against Dominion rule, inspired by human broadcasts that showed aliens being defeated by primitive weapons. The empire that had seemed invincible was crumbling under pressure from creatures they had considered worthless. Emperor Vrex was traveling toward Earth, intending to end human resistance with overwhelming force. But he was actually flying into a trap prepared by the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. The creatures who were supposed to be entertainment had become the hunters. The final battle would determine whether humanity would survive as a free species or be exterminated as an example to other potential rebels across the galaxy. But Taiho was confident that humans would find a way to win. They always did when their survival was at stake. The hunt for Emperor Vrex was about to begin, and this time, the monster who had murdered innocents for entertainment would discover what it felt like to be the prey. Emperor Vrex arrived in Earth orbit aboard the World Killer, expecting to find a broken planet ready to surrender. Instead, he discovered that the humans had transformed their world into the most dangerous fortress in the galaxy. Every major city had been converted into a military base armed with electromagnetic weapons that could disable his ships. Admiral Kim Taiho watched the alien fleet approach from the command center deep underground. The Emperor had brought 40 ships, including the massive flagship that had destroyed hundreds of worlds. But intelligence reports suggested that alien morale was so low that many crews were ready to surrender rather than fight. The World Killer was 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack planets, but Dr. Song had discovered its fatal weakness. The ship quantum field generators were more powerful than anything humans had encountered, but they were also more vulnerable to electromagnetic disruption. Major Nam Yuna led the human Space Force in their final battle, flying captured alien fighters alongside hybrid ships built with both human and alien technology. The space pilots had trained for this moment, knowing that failure would mean the extinction of their species. Their battle began when Emperor Vrex ordered his fleet to destroy all human cities simultaneously. His ships opened fire with plasma cannons that had burned countless worlds to ash. But the humans were ready with a surprise that would change Galactic history forever. Every electromagnetic weapon on Earth activated at the same moment, creating a pulse field that reached into space and struck the alien fleet like an invisible hammer. The World Killer massive shields flickered and dyed its weapons, went silent, and emergency lighting bathed the bridge in red warning signals. Vrex screamed orders in his alien language, but his crew could not respond because their control systems were completely dead. The Emperor, who had never experienced defeat, was learning what it felt like to be helpless. The most powerful ship in the galaxy had become a floating metal coffin. Human fighters swarmed the disabled alien vessels like angry bees, attacking intruders in their hive. The space pilots had trained for months to fight in zero gravity, and their skills were superior to alien crews who depended on technology for everything. Lieutenant Colonel Park Ji-hoon led the boarding assault on the World Killer, using cutting torches to break through the hull, while electromagnetic grenades kept the alien defenses offline. The human fighters moved through the ship corridors like shadows, hunting the creature who had murdered their families. The Emperor flagship was a maze of passages and chambers, but human. Intelligence had provided detailed blueprints captured from Prince Kelvak. The boarding teams knew exactly where to find the command center and how to reach the Emperor throne room. Alien crew members tried to resist, but without their energy shields, And plasma weapons, they were no match for human fighters armed with conventional firearms. The creatures who had conquered hundreds of worlds were being defeated by bullets and explosives that their ancestors might have used. Captain Ojewan captured the ship communication center and began broadcasting the battle across the galaxy. Every species that had been enslaved by the Dominion could watch their oppressors being hunted through their own flagship by the humans they had tried to exterminate. Emperor Vrex barricaded himself in the throne room with his personal guard, but the human fighters used shaped charges to blast through the armored doors. The creature who had ordered the deaths of millions cowered behind his golden throne while his guards fell to human weapons. Taiho entered the throne room last after his team had secured the area. The Emperor was exactly as he had appeared in the execution broadcast, a massive reptilian creature covered in golden armor and ancient scars from 1,000 conquered worlds. But now the mighty Emperor looked small and pathetic without his technology to protect him. His claws scratched uselessly at the metal floor, and his eyes darted around the room looking for an escape. That did not exist. The predator had become prey. "You cannot kill me," Vrex hissed in broken English. "I am eternal. I am the master of 1,000 worlds. My empire will avenge my death and burn your pathetic planet to cosmic dust. Your species will be remembered only as a footnote in galactic history." Taiho looked at the creature who had broadcast the hanging of 100,000 innocent people as entertainment. The Emperor had shown no mercy to human children and families he would receive, the same mercy he had shown to others. The Emperor was not executed immediately. Instead, he was taken alive back to Earth, where the families of his victims were waiting. Representatives from every nation that had lost citizens to alien cruelty gathered. In the underground courtroom built specifically for this trial, Dr. Song had designed a translation system that allowed every human language to be understood by the alien prisoner. Emperor Vrex would hear the testimony of his victims' families. In their own words, he would understand exactly what his entertainment had cost in human lives. The trial was broadcast across both Earth and the galaxy. Other enslaved species watched as the most powerful being in known space was held accountable for his crimes. The Emperor, who had seemed like a god, was revealed to be nothing more than a criminal who used superior technology to hurt innocent people. Families of the execution victims spoke directly to their tormentor. Some cried as they remembered their lost loved ones. Others showed pictures of children who would never grow up because an alien creature thought their deaths were amusing. The Emperor tried to claim that he was simply following the natural order of the universe where strong, a species dominated weak ones. But the humans explained that strength was not measured by technology or military power. Real strength came from protecting those who could not protect themselves. When the testimony ended, the verdict was unanimous. Emperor Vrex was guilty of genocide, slavery, and crimes against all intelligent life. The sentence would be carried out in the same manner he had used against his human victims. He would be hanged as the galaxy watched. The execution was broadcast to every world in the former Dominion Empire. Billions of enslaved beings watched as the creature who had oppressed them for centuries paid for his crimes. The message was clear. Tyranny would no longer be tolerated anywhere in the galaxy. As Emperor Vrex died, the Dominion Empire collapsed completely. Other enslaved species declared their independence, knowing that humans would help them fight for freedom. The galaxy that had been ruled by fear was now protected by those who valued justice. Admiral Taiho addressed the United Nations as they voted to establish the Terran Defense Alliance. Earth would use its military knowledge to help other species defend themselves against future tyrants. The humans who had been considered weak had become the galaxy's protectors. The war that began with alien entertainment ended with human justice. The species that was supposed to be slaves had become liberators. The creatures who thought they were gods learned that they were mortal. The weak had become strong and would never be weak again. Dr. Song continued developing new technologies that combined human creativity with alien science. The electromagnetic warfare systems that had defeated the Dominion were shared freely with other species who wanted to defend their freedom. Major Namuna established the Galactic Defense Academy, where humans taught other species how to fight against technologically superior enemies. The tactics that had saved Earth were now being used to liberate hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. The underground resistance that had begun in subway tunnels and abandoned buildings became the foundation for a new galactic civilization based on freedom and justice rather than conquest and oppression. Every species had the right to exist without fear. 10 years after the invasion, Earth was the capital of a federation that included over 200 species. The humans, who were supposed to be entertainment, had created the largest alliance of free peoples in galactic history. The arena where 100,000 Americans had been executed was converted into a memorial for all victims of tyranny. Beings from across the galaxy came to pay their respects to those who had died fighting for freedom. Commander Kim Tejo became the first human to serve as Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense Forces. The man who had watched his people die in alien entertainment had lived to see justice delivered and freedom restored. The aliens had made one fatal mistake when they chose to make humanity their enemy. They had awakened something that would never sleep again. The human spirit of resistance had spread across the galaxy and could never be extinguished. The galaxy was free, and would remain free as long as humans remembered what they had learned in the dark days of the invasion. Justice was not something that could be given or taken away. It was something that had to be fought for and defended by those who were strong enough to protect the weak. The entertainment was over. The justice had begun.